Hey everyone, it's Megan here from Meghan Makes Do, and today I'm going to show you how to make the Vance Beanie crochet pattern. For this pattern, we'll be using Lion Brand's local grown 100% USA wool in two colors. I am using Moss and Vanilla Bean. You will also need a size J 6mm crochet hook, along with a size H 5mm crochet hook as well. Then you'll want to grab a pair of scissors, a stitch marker, and a tapestry needle. You can follow along this video tutorial with the written pattern, which is available on my blog for free or in my shop as a PDF. To start our Vance Beanie, you'll want to grab color A, which for me I'm using Vanilla Bean, along with your size H 5mm crochet hook. And what we're going to be doing is making a ribbed band that kind of goes around. We'll be working in rows and then joining those rows to form a loop. So to start, you'll want to put a slip knot on your hook, and then we're going to chain 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so this is going to be the height of our ribbing. In the second chain from the hook, we're going to work a single crochet and then work another single crochet in every chain all the way across. Okay, so here's our last single crochet of row 1. So now we are going to chain 1 and turn, and for this row and each additional row we're going to be working a single crochet in the back loop only, and we'll do that in each stitch all the way across. And we're going to do this until we have 60 rows of single crochet in the back loop only, and this will become the band of your hat. Okay, so now that we have our 60 rows of single crochet back loop only, we're going to bring those short ends together. So I'm going to chain 1 and bring the other end to my working row, making sure I don't have a twist in my band. And we're going to be working in the back loop of the working row and the beginning chain of the first row, and we're just going to slip stitch those two pieces together. So try to line up your stitches along this edge and continue to slip stitch between in the back loop only of the working row and the chains of the first row all the way across. Okay, so now we have our band slip stitched together. What we want to do is change to our J hook. We're going to be using the J hook from now on for the main part of our hat. And we want to make sure that we are turning our hat so that the right side is facing out. Okay, so now we've got it right side is facing out. We want to find our working yarn, and we're going to chain 1. And for row 1 of the main body of our hat, we are going to be single crocheting into the end of each row. Okay, so you can kind of see where I'm placing my hook here into the end of each row. So since we have 60 rows, we'll want to end with 60 single crochets all the way around the top of our ribbing. Okay, so we've gotten to the last stitch here of row 1, and we will slip stitch to the first stitch to join. And when I'm working in turned rounds, we'll chain 1 and turn. I like to use a stitch marker to keep track of where my first stitch is. So in the same stitch as my join, I'm going to single crochet, and then I'm going to place a stitch marker in this stitch. So there's a couple different ways that you can do the turns. I know some people skip working in that turn chain, but I like to work into that as my first stitch, and putting a stitch marker into the first stitch of every round will help me know where to start and stop each round. So we're just going to single crochet into each stitch all the way around, and then we'll slip stitch to join at the end. Okay, so we've made it all the way around for round 2, and right where my stitch marker is where I will be slip stitching, but we want to switch to color B at this point. So go ahead and grab a strand of your color B yarn, and when we slip stitch, that's when we're going to be changing color. Okay, then I can pull my color A tight. Do not cut off color A. We're going to be carrying our yarns kind of up the seam of our hat, which will reduce the amount of ends we have to weave in. So with color B, chain 1 and turn, and then again, working into the same stitch as our join, we're going to single crochet into each stitch all the way around our hat. So for each one of these rows, you should have 60 stitches total. Again, I'm going to use my stitch marker just to keep track of the first stitch of my round. And then continue to work single crochet in each stitch all the way around. And then once you've gotten around, we'll slip stitch to that first stitch again, taking out our marker. And then we can chain 1 and turn, and we're going to work a second round using color B, just as we've been doing before. It's all single crochet. So single crochet into the same stitch as the join, place your stitch marker, and then continue to work single crochet stitches in each stitch all the way around until you get to that beginning stitch where your stitch marker is. Okay, so we've made it around and finished our 4th row, and we'll want to join our rows. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert my hook in the first stitch, take out my stitch marker, and when we're switching between colors for these rows and we're carrying up, we want to slip stitch with color B still. Okay, we're going to bring color A up. It's going to be in the front of us. Chain 1 and then pull color B tight to kind of attach color A and kind of lock it in. Okay, so it can be a little finicky here. Hopefully you saw what I did. So when we turn, we're going to leave color B just hanging off. We're not going to unattach or anything. We're not going to fasten off. And then we can immediately start working with color A since it's already joined and in place. So in the same stitch as our join, we're going to insert our stitch marker. And then again, for this row, we are going to be doing something a little bit different. So our first stitch is a single crochet. And now in the next stitch, we want to go down 3 rows below. So 1, 2, 3. And into that 3rd row, same stitch, but 3 rows down, we're going to insert our hook and work a very tall single crochet stitch. So you want to kind of draw your loop up so that you get, it's like a spike stitch. So we're going to single crochet in the next stitch and then work another single crochet 3 rows below. So carefully work. This is probably the trickiest row out of the whole hat. Once we have these kind of initial stitches in place, it'll be a lot easier in the subsequent rows as you work around. So for this row, we're going to single crochet and then single crochet 3 rows below, single crochet into the working round, single crochet 3 rounds below. Okay? Sorry, if I keep saying rounds or rows back and forth, I hope you all know that I mean rounds, obviously, but since we're turning, it gets a little bit confusing. So just continue to work this pattern repeat all the way around until you get back to that stitch marker. Okay, so we're working our last single crochet 3 rows below. That's how you will end these rows. You'll end with that single crochet 3rd row below, and then we are going to go ahead and join into that first stitch where a stitch marker is, and then we can chain 1 and turn again, And our next row, super easy, is just going to be single crochet in the same stitch as the join and in each stitch all the way around. So we're going to be working 2 rows in color A, 2 rows in color B, switching back and forth as we go. And most of our rounds are going to be very simple single crochet or single crochet and then single crochet in 3 rounds below. So just continue to work single crochet around. And then once we get to the end, let me show you how I will switch back and forth on these rows, going from color A back to color B. So we're going to slip stitch with color A, and we want to bring that yarn kind of in front and then pull up color B, chain 1, and then pull color A, because we want color A to end up on the inside of our hat. So make sure that before you start this next round with color B, that your color A strand is still attached, but that you've brought it to the inside of your work so that it's not hanging out in the front and then we end up with strands kind of crossing in the front. So our next 2 rounds are worked with color B, and it's just single crochet in the same stitch as the join and single crochet in each stitch around, joining with a slip stitch. Okay, so I've worked the next 2 rounds with color B. I'm going to slip stitch with color B still to join. Okay, and then we are going to bring color B to the inside or to the front of us, and then switch to color A and chain 1. We can pull color B tight, and then we'll turn. The right side will be facing you, and make sure that both of your yarns are in the back. So for this next round, we're going to start with a single crochet in the same stitch as our join. Make sure you place your stitch marker if you find that helpful. And now we want to work a single crochet 3 rounds below, but we want to make sure that we're going in between the 2 legs of our initial round with this modified single crochet or spike stitch. Okay, so then we're going to single crochet into our working round again, and then our next one is a single crochet 3 rounds below, making sure that we're going between the legs of that little spike stitch. Okay, so that will keep everything lined up. We'll have those nice, single crochet 3 rounds below. Those are all going to stack on top of each other. So just simply continue doing this, repeat all the way around your hat. So this row or this round and all other rounds that include this special stitch should be a lot easier from here because you'll be able to see exactly where you need to place your stitch. So just continue around and I'll meet you back here for the next round of color A. Okay, so I'm just going to work my last few stitches and we will end again with that single crochet 3 rounds below. We will join to our first stitch with a slip stitch and then chain 1 and turn. And just as we did before, we'll work a single crochet in each stitch around for this round. Okay, I'll put my stitch marker in place so I don't lose my spot. And then we'll just continue to work single crochet around, and you're going to be repeating those rows as you go throughout your hat. So you'll do your 2 rows of color B and then a row of color A with that dropped single crochet stitch, and then a single crochet regular row with color A. So just repeat those rounds over and over. So you'll be repeating rounds 2 through 5 7 times, and then doing another repeat of round 2 once more. You should end up with 34 rounds at the end. Again, you can adjust this. You can make it taller, shorter to fit your head. So now that we've gotten all of our rounds done, we want to cut off leaving a long tail for color A and fasten that off. And then we can go ahead and cut off a tail of color B and kind of tuck that in or weave that in now if you'd like. But we are done with color B, and we are going to close up our hat using color A. So you'll need to grab a blunt tapestry needle for this, and I'll show you how to close your hat. Okay, so I've laid my hat down so that the seam is in the middle, and then I'm going to thread my long tail onto my tapestry needle. So you want that seam to be in the very center as close as possible, and fold it in half. And what we're going to do is we are going to be making a series of stitches here in the center of the hat. So we're going to go through both ends of the hat, and I like to kind of wrap it around twice, but just place a little stitch there. That's going to create 2 loops. And then we're going to separate those 2 loops and fold them in half so that the half of each of those loops is in line with the center stitch that we just created. And then we're going to take our yarn and we will stitch through all of those layers. So through the middle of one loop, through the center, and through the middle of the other loop. And again, I like to do 2 stitches here as well. This will create 4 loops on your hat. And what we want to do is we want to bring the center of each of those 4 loops into the center of the hat and stitch it closed. So I like to do this 1 loop at a time as I go, making sure I do 2 stitches in each. So you're just working around, bringing the center of each of those 4 loops in, and that's going to create 8 loops. And we'll then bring those loops onto the inside as well. So I'm just going to continue working around until I have all 4 loop centers attached to the center of my hat. And again, if you prefer a different method for closing your hat, you are free to do that. This is the method that I prefer. I feel like it gives a nice shape to the top of the hat. It makes it a great surface for attaching pom-poms or a snap. But whatever method you are most comfortable with is fine. But if you want to give this one a try, I will try to take you through step by step. Okay, so we're on our last loop here, bringing it in through the center and stitching it in place. And we'll do it one more time just to make sure that that loop is nice and secure. Okay, so now we have 8 loops, and what we're going to do is we're going to bring the center of each one of those loops into the center of the hat, but this time I'm going to be going directly into the inside of the hat as I do it. So find your first loop. It helps to have one hand kind of in the middle of the hat on the inside, and make sure that you're taking your tail end of yarn and bringing it from the inside of the loop out, and then pull it all the way down into the center of the hat on the inside. Okay, and then feeling around with your fingers, get to the next loop, bring your needle up from the inside of the hat through the center of that next loop, and then again down into the inside of the hat. Okay, so we're kind of folding those loops in to the center, and just carefully work your way around, kind of feel with your fingers. I like to put my left hand on the inside of the hat and use my right hand to guide my needle. So I'm feeling around for each loop, because as you do this, some of those loops might kind of get folded in on each other and start to disappear. But just start on one side and just work your way around the best you can, and this is just going to make sure that the top of our hat is fully closed. We won't have any gaps or any weird loops hanging off. but we're just going to attach every single one of those 8 centers loops into the center of our hat. Okay, so I've gotten all 8 loops attached, and I've brought my yarn to the center, the inside part of my hat. This is a great spot to attach a pom-pom. I typically sew a snap right into the middle part of that section and then add a snap-on pom. You can also do a yarn pom if you'd like. So when you lay your hat flat, it's not going to be super flat at the top, but you can see how beautiful this stitch is and how beautiful our Vance Beanie will turn out. So I hope that you found this tutorial helpful. Again, you can find the full written pattern on my blog for free or grab a PDF version in my shop. I really hope that you'll give the Vance Beanie a try. If you like this video, make sure to hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe for more.